Hey everybody, how's it going? So I read some comments from people wanting me to review Logan, the final Wolverine movie of the X-Men movie franchise. And this movie came out last Thursday. I did go to the movie theater to go see it Thursday night. I saw it at midnight. But the truth of the matter is, you know how sometimes you go to a movie and it's a good movie or it's a bad movie, but depending on the experience that you have watching it, is what you remember, and that's kind of what you take with you, and so that affects your viewing of the film. Well, let me tell you, I had a pretty bad experience watching this movie because I was so tired. I know a lot of people don't know this about me, but I am currently in a master's program studying to become a counselor. So I'm about to graduate, and I also have to study for a national counseling exam to get certified and stuff. So that takes up a lot of my time. I also have to see clients every week, and so long story short, last Thursday, I went to the movie theater at night, and usually the way that I would do these comic book movie reviews is I would go to the premiere, and I wouldn't have a problem staying up late doing the review. But this time around, I was dying in the movie theater. I was like, oh, I could barely keep my eyes open because I knew that I needed to get some sleep. Because if I'm not good to go in the morning, then I can't work with people and their issues. I literally felt in real life the way that Wolverine feels throughout the entire movie, which is desperate, hopeless, and with a very gloomy outlook on life. That being said, I've seen every single X-Men movie that has come out from Fox in the theater, with the exception of the first X-Men movie. So ever since X2, X-Men United, I've been there watching these movies. So it's more of a habit now than anything, and because it was announced that this was Hugh Jackman's final project, final involvement as Wolverine, I had to check it out, and I was excited. I was very excited, especially because the reviews were coming in and they were saying that it was very good. Now, the first thing I noticed, and you probably noticed this too, just from watching the trailers, was that it didn't really feel like those trailers were trailers for an X-Men movie. It felt more like a more realistic type of approach. Even the camera angles, you see them, they're way different than the staged normal X-Men films. The coloring or the tone for the film is very gray. There's not a lot of color. I don't know if you saw this movie called Manchester by the Sea, but basically that's what it is. It's there's not a lot of color. It's very gloomy, and it's kind of getting you prepared for something that's not very happy. The cinematography, the direction, and even the action sequences are very, very different compared to that of the previous X-Men movies. And I think it's because in the previous X-Men movies, a lot of the emphasis is on the special abilities. Ooh, look at this mutant. This is his special power, and that's her special power over there. And now they're fighting, and look at them. And, it's this convoluted thing. This is more of a character story. It's a story about Logan, and it's also about, Professor X, Charles Xavier, and it's also about X-23. This movie, the dynamic between Wolverine and X-23, the girl, actually did remind me a little bit of Les Mis, because in that movie, Hugh Jackman does kind of play this adoptive, fatherly figure to this other little girl. So I'm like, I wonder if they got inspired from Les Mis, and they were like, hey, you want to do this, but grittier and more violent? That's another thing, too. This movie is very, very violent. It's rated R for a reason. I mean, you see shots of Logan's claws going right through people's heads and coming out the other end. So you see decapitated heads, you see blood all over the place, you see headshots. At one point, Logan starts off as a limo driver in the movie, and one of the girls in the back just flashes her titties at him, and I'm beginning to think that Fox, because remember, Marvel, the license of Marvel characters is kind of spread out throughout 3 studios, right? Disney has the Avengers, all that stuff. Sony has Spider-Man, but Sony agreed to let Disney borrow Spider-Man, so that's why we're getting Homecoming this year. And also Fox has, I think it's Fantastic Four, X-Men, and Deadpool. And so I'm guessing that they felt comfortable pushing the boundaries and making this an R-rated movie, very violent, because of the success that Deadpool had. And I did not review Deadpool when it came out because I didn't want to, I don't know, I think I wanted to see what all the hype was about. And I did watch it, and I thought it was hilarious. I thought it's very funny how he can throw F-bombs, with, I don't know, how many F-bombs does he throw, a minute? A ton, right? But then I walked out of the movie and it's like, wow, okay, so this movie kind of broke the fourth wall. It made me feel like, yeah, this is actually something that I can see happening in real life. But I didn't get like much of a message out of Deadpool, to be honest. I really didn't get. I mean, there's the whole like vanity thing because he looks really messed up, and the girl taking him back and stuff and saying, hey, let's I want to sit on your face. That's the moral of the story. And I think that for me, a superhero movie, it has to have some type of message. I know that sounds really corny. Deadpool doesn't really have that for me. It's just very violent and very vulgar. I think that because he's one of the first characters to be this way, then people obviously like him. But if this formula were repeated over and over again with different characters, people would start to lose interest. So it's entertaining. I laughed my ass off during the Deadpool trailer. I didn't even know, like, they used the Superman music for the trailer. I'm like, how did they even get those rights? That's hilarious. We see his ass in the phone booth, and we see an innocent bystander get shot, and he just trolls the crap out of him, even after he's dead. So again, there's not a lot of like sensitivity, but it's fun and it's crazy, and that's why people like him. And I actually thought that Deadpool was going to be in the movie. I thought that he was going to have like some type of a role, secondary role in the Logan movie, and that they were just keeping it under wraps. But then I thought to myself, how would that even work? Because they are so different. Like they're just completely different characters. They're like polar opposites almost in terms of personality. And no, so that was a trailer, and then Logan started, and it was just depressing as hell. Now, before I get into the spoiler section, all right, I just want to say that in writing, it's generally understood that there are two types of stories. One is character-driven, and the other one is plot-driven. Logan is definitely a character-driven film, meaning that the story is not the strongest aspect. I mean, I don't even remember most of the plot intricacies of it because I don't think I had to. Honestly, it was more about like this journey of a man who initially just wants to give up, just doesn't want to do this anymore. He's super tired. He has to take care of Charles, so he's like a babysitter. He's just trying to make ends meet, keep a low profile, and then he just becomes like this guardian to this little girl, and it's all about their relationship and him maturing and coming to the conclusion that yes, he had a pretty shitty life, and he's just disappointed. He's done, and I think he's been hurt a lot over the years to the point where he's just like, I'm done with this. Screw this. And then there's a line at the end of the movie where he basically says that that's why he doesn't really want to get close to anybody because he tells the girl, bad shit happens to people I care about, and then the girl replies, well, that means I'll be fine then because you obviously don't care about me. So it's about those types of moments. Not really about story, because if I were to get into the story aspect of it, I would just be like, wait, what's going on? The timeline leading up to where this movie takes place, which is 2029, is just completely jumbled and messed up, and that's not rare for an X-Men movie, but I'm still trying to make sense of it because in Days of Future Past, all right, mutants were being hunted down, Sentinels were killing them, and so they go back to the past to change something so that the Sentinels don't hunt them down in the future. But in this movie, it seems like they've been eradicated anyway. Not by the Sentinels, all right? There's a different, plot device to get rid of the mutants, but it's like, yeah, what happened to these other guys? These top-tier dudes, Back in the ending of Days of Future Past, we had Scott, we had Storm back, we had Jean, and I don't think people realize how overpowered Jean and Professor X are. They can literally eradicate anyone just by thinking about them. It's insane. Like, no, I have a very hard time believing that they just like got dealt with in this way. So, but that's the story. That's what I'm saying. And so the new generation of mutants are actually kids that are being developed in Mexico. And that's one of the aspects that I really liked about the movie. First and foremost, I found it very, very amusing that there's some symmetry in the fact that the movie opens up in El Paso, Texas, which is the border between U.S. and Mexico, and the movie ends in the Canadian-U.S. border in North Dakota. So I love that. I love the fact that these kids are technically like immigrants, but they're not going to the U.S. They're like, we're going to Canada now. We got to go to Canada. And historically, the X-Men franchise has always had some type of political themes intertwined. Like I remember in X2, there's a scene where Iceman's parents find out that he has the ability to freeze stuff, and they ask him, well, have you tried not being a mutant? And back in the day, that was a reference to the whole like gay acceptance thing, right? You know, people asking other people, have you tried not being gay? So that was like a reference to that. I don't think Logan is a political movie, but it does have settings that just get you thinking about these things. So I really like that. And especially, I think the strongest part of the movie is definitely the ending. I think that's when I just felt like, okay, wow. I felt like I had just finished reading a very good book, to the point where I even thought to myself, why couldn't all of the previous X-Men movies be like this? You know, because now I'm going to have to go back and I'm going to watch these movies. Some of them are better than others. Some of them are just crap. But I always noticed that they made an attempt to censor like the violence when it came to the Wolverine fights in the past. And I was like, oh man, like Logan totally beats this. I also like the fact that in this world, the X-Men are actually comic book characters that are well known. By the end, there's even like a Wolverine toy, and you know, Laura actually has a comic book, and that's how she knows that, you know, they need to get there to North Dakota. But Logan just thinks that this is just bullcrap, and he's like, this is a fantasy. This is not how it went down. You have no idea what I've been through. And so yeah, they kind of break the fourth wall a little bit with that. If I had to give this movie a grade as a movie, I'd probably give it like a B+. But as an X-Men movie, like if I compare it to the rest of the franchise, it's definitely like an A+ movie. It has some of the best character moments of the entire X-Men franchise, just period. So I'm going to get into spoilers. Please like the review if you liked it. That makes me shows that you want me to keep doing these things, or these movie reviews. Please show your support. I'm going to talk spoilers, so thank you for watching. I'm going to start off with a quote here. It says, "A man has to be what he is, Joey. Can't break the mold. I tried it, and it didn't work for me. Joey, there's no living with a killing. There's no going back from one. Right or wrong, it's a brand. A brand sticks. There's no going back. Now you run on home to your mother and tell her everything's all right. And there aren't any more guns in the valley." That's the final monologue that Laura says over her father's grave. It's a quote from a movie called Shane. I had no idea that movie even existed before I saw this movie, so I should probably go watch it. And you know, she leaves the X mark there for Wolverine. She turns the crucifix into an X mark, which I thought was really nice and poetic. And I don't think it's blasphemous. It's a movie. It's a pretty sad ending. A lot of people, myself included, actually were waiting for that post-credits scene at the end, and it never came. We were expecting for the rocks, I guess, to start moving, or for a claw to jump out of the grave, but that didn't happen. That's the end of Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. In theory, all right? Because I'm pretty sure like a lot of people don't believe this. Even the director said, yeah, like the audiences don't really trust us anymore. Because it's X-Men, and you have like these crazy abilities, like these time warping, like dimensional bending abilities, and you can change things in the past and, you know, change outcomes in the future. So you never know. But hey, it was a good movie. I really didn't appreciate the fact that they needed to nerf the hell out of Charles to kill him in this movie. But I guess if you're gonna kill him, that's the only way to do it, just to nerf the crap out of him and have him like have seizures and shit. Because otherwise, no, he's too powerful. I don't want to talk about the villain in this movie. I really don't, because his actor was actually dating Elizabeth Olsen, and she dumped him, and that's not cool. You know, that's not cool. I don't like people dating her. So I'm out. Comment, rate, subscribe. Thank you. Show support, please. Bye.